Well, welcome to our Inside the Friary vlog. Today is a Friar Q&A time. You've sent in your questions, so we're just going to go through some of these questions, try to answer them for you. And the first one is, what is a regular day in the life of a friar, priest, or brother? And I thought, Brother John, you'd be good to answer that.
So as friars, we follow a horarium, which is basically a daily schedule. But just a Monday through Friday kind of schedule is pretty much the same. Every morning we have our prayers over in our Friary chapel where we pray the Divine Office and morning prayer. And then just right after that we head down to the EWTN chapel and we'll have the 7 o'clock televised Mass, which usually Father Mark or Father John Paul will celebrate and preach. And then usually, lately we've been doing a rosary after, just right after following the Mass. But usually just kind of in the day, just in the morning we have a work assignment. And then as brothers, about midday we have a midday prayer. And then after that, just a little bit of time off. Now as priests it's different because they have confessions, they have the noon Mass, they go celebrate Mass at the Sister Servants. So they're a lot of times maybe at those places as well. Usually we have another kind of work assignment in the afternoon. Usually later in the afternoon we'll go down and make a holy hour and pray in front of the Blessed Sacrament. Then as a community pray the rosary and have our evening prayer. And then come back, have dinner, and just some fraternal time with each other and clean up after that. And usually in the evening, if we don't have something going on, kind of not so much right now, but some of us, sometimes there's live shows or if there's groups or talks. If not, then it's just a little bit of downtime, and then we have our night prayer, and then pretty much go to sleep after that. Try to check in if we can about 10. So that's what a rough kind of look at what the life looks like. Our priests are busy. They a lot of times will go to the nursing homes and hospitals, and they get called up. A lot of times in the evenings they're doing spiritual direction, confessions around the clock. Seems like so there's quite a bit of that. So and so that'd be just what the normal schedule I think looks like.
Sure. And they asked, do we always wear the brown habit?
Yeah, I'd say as a community we try to always wear it. There's certain occasions, I think, if it's some type of recreation or if you're doing some type of manual labor, or it could be if you're getting caught in something, we'll obviously not be wearing that, just put on some work clothes. But whenever we go out, we do wear the habit to witness. And also working out, we don't work out in our habit. Well, we do have a little place just inside the Friary where we do work out. But yeah, I think we, as a community, try to wear the habit and support that.
I find traveling too, like we're not flying much now, but during COVID, but yeah, the habit's a great witness, starts a lot of conversations, really. I've had just wonderful conversations on planes and things. So.
Yeah, it's a sign of our consecration, and just think if we weren't wearing the habit, nobody would say anything to us.
Right.
Maybe just like a normal Joe. But
Right.
because we wear this habit, it sparks maybe an interest, a conversation. Somebody has a concern or wants us to ask for prayer.
And it's pretty rare that I run into any like negativity or anything like that. Most people are very respectful. Or, they're just curious, what are you wearing? And I think it is a great way just to open up conversation, especially at like airports or any kind of outing event. Usually we'll get a handful of people that will ask about the habit and what you are and who are you and where'd you come from.
So that's a good segue too. The next question is, what does the Friars' missionary work look like?
Well, I think, our title is the Franciscan Missionaries of the Eternal Word. And I've really thought about and meditated upon that a lot in my religious life, being here almost, 16 years now, since 2004. And, first of all, I remember Father Anthony telling us, I think, in a lesson that he used to say that we're kind of missionaries in our own backyard. We don't have to really go far to be a missionary. We don't have to go to a foreign country to get on a plane. Most of our work is done through our involvement with Eternal Word Television Network, EWTN. So a lot of our missionary work is a lot of preaching, I think, a lot of teaching. through the televised Mass, through our involvement with some live shows that we're on. And also our work at the shrine, too, I should say that, welcoming people, visitors to the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament in Hanceville. And I think really maybe two staples of our life that are kind of important to all of us is preaching and hearing confessions. That's a big part of our life as Franciscans, is being available to people to hear confessions. So many people do come here to EWTN and to the shrine to have their confessions heard.
Yeah, and I think, this year is different because of COVID, but we do get a lot of pilgrims that come through EWTN and also at the shrine. I think the shrine maybe double actually what we get here, but we do get quite a number of people from all around the world too that come over here, and it's really remarkable to see, because we do, from just really devout people from like the Philippines will, they'll come over here across the Pacific just to come here and pray.
Yeah, because sometimes families will come over to visit from the Philippines, and they'll bring them here. Or I've met people from India who watch Africa. Yeah, we had a priest from Africa who was checking on some local communities that were African, and he watches, and I forgot if it was Kenya, but it's really fascinating. The people that come here, I think they really help us to remind us who our audience is, and it's our flock congregation, so to speak.
It's our family.
Family.
I remember one time being at World Youth Day in Australia, and we're coming through, and all of us, it's like I think 11 of us went there, and we were coming through the line, the security line, and this younger girl who was in her 20s, she recognized us, and I think that kind of gave all of us some hope. We were all laughing about it because with her, she said, and we asked her, "You're young and you actually watch, ETN?" We actually kind of gave us some hope, because we like to hear more from young people. Not that obviously we minister to an older crowd. We know that for sure, but it's really encouraging for a younger crowd to reach out to us.
Right. Yeah, that's a big. Well, one thing we should say too, we're in a mission diocese here. I think it's like Alabama's like 2% Catholic or something, but we do help out a lot in parishes. We fill in for priests or help with confessions, or there's a question about funerals and weddings. We do those as well, and so they're really hurting for vocations in the diocese. We have priests from India here, about 15 priests in the diocese. So there's a great pastoral need for priests and stuff. So we do consider that part of our missionary work as well. And then, of course, up at the shrine. So, and then you're involved with Fraternus, which is a great.
Yeah, it's a father-son initiative, and it was founded about 17 years ago. And really, it's really to teach boys, young men, virtue. Fraternus means brotherhood, but I should say that we all had this notion that this was going to be a great thing for the kids, and where it's all focused on the kids. But I think, really in the end, it's not only been about the kids and the young men who are being formed and taught virtue, but us men need it too. And so many men in the diocese that I've been able to develop friendships with, it's helped us to grow in this brotherhood. And Birmingham's just a great diocese. I know you probably think the same thing. It's just such a wonderful place to be a Catholic and to practice.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of good movements, a lot of devout lay people are taking their faith seriously. Father Anthony always comments, he's always been impressed by the number of people that go to confession. And with a need for priests, that's not easy for people to go to confession, but so that's a big part of our ministry too. We have confessions here about 6 days a week, and when people ask, and so I've seen that grow. It just seems like there's like devout lay people that are serious about their spiritual life, about their faith. They want to do something for the Lord, and there is an energy here with that. So it's a great thing. Why should someone join the Franciscans as opposed to another religious order? What is the unique draw of the Franciscan way of life and spirituality?
Well,
What drew you to us?
well, there were actually several things that drew me to this community. One was actually whenever I was discerning just the work of EWTN and the Friars. I think evangelizing through the media was a big part of that. In college, I started watching Mother Angelica and just seeing her teach. I thought that was really inspirational, and she was a big part, I think, during that time of my spiritual growth was Mother Angelica. But also, whenever I came here as a visitor, I became really attracted just to the community life, the prayer life of the Friars. Didn't really have that before. That was new to me, and I just really fell in love with it, and I still love it. And so I think for me, I didn't. Again, if you're young like me, I didn't know anything about the religious life. That was hardly anything I knew. But whenever I came here, there was just something that just kind of clicked, and for me, there was also a tug. I think God was pulling me into this direction. It wasn't really something I understood, but it was something that I prayed about and just asked for the graces. And I don't think we're, as a community, opposed to anybody joining another religious community. I think there are so many ways to serve the church, and there are so many great communities out there that do just great work. And I think that's something also, if you come here to discern, you may not, this community may not be for you, but there certainly may be another community that is. And I think, those are things that you bring to prayer and to a spiritual director as well. But I think, also our community also is devoted to the Blessed Sacrament. And I think that's a really, for me, that was something very new in college. And, I grew up Catholic, but that wasn't something we just kind of did. But whenever I came here and that was introduced to me, I just really fell in love with it. And that was just a whole new world experience for me. But you're going to find that also in other religious communities as well. But just I think the way we observe it here is something.
I think that's a good point, that we have a deeply contemplative dimension to our community. We're founded by Mother Angelica. She's a Poor Clare Perpetual Adoration, a cloistered nun. Whole life is ordered to adoration. That's their apostolate, that's their work, so to speak. And so that's certainly deeply part of our charism. And I remember reading one time Father Thomas Dubay, he just said in general, like a sign for a call to religious life was this desire for a deep prayer life. And I thought, that's really true. If you find yourself, we're all called to pray, laity, religious, but I think that is a sign that you want something more. You want to give more time to pray, and certainly that's a big part of our community. So, yeah. Do you have anything to add?
Well, I think just the reality of St. Francis, the example of St. Francis, and I should say that it wasn't so much the apostolate that drew me. That was kind of secondary, but the community life, the brotherhood. St. Francis said, "The Lord gave me brothers," and what really was a draw for me when I visited for the first time was just the joy that I saw in the brothers, how happy they were, and I came away thinking to myself after I left, I want that. I want what those brothers have. The spirit of Francis. It was so alive and tangible, and also, like Brother John said, I'll repeat, just the devotion to the Blessed Sacrament, our time in adoration together as a community, the Rosary, and that's very important to us, is this strong Marian devotion.
And I think St. Francis' drive for evangelization certainly mirrored in Mother Angelica. It was just like all-out evangelization. I think that's at the heart of our community too, the new evangelization. And to me, I think Mother's a great witness to that Franciscanism of trust in God. The network is just living month to month, total trust in God's providence, and even deeper to trust in Him for our work in the apostolate. She wasn't stressing, as much as like this perfect preparation and ability. And no, it was about focusing stepping out in faith, trusting God will give you the grace to do it.
Yeah.
And so I like those elements of humility, simplicity, joy, and an evangelization, a drive to really proclaim the gospel. All right, another question. Do you get training how to be on camera, how to speak to the camera, and how to know which camera to look at during Mass? I want to say one thing on that. I had a woman contact me who's a professional communications professor, and she complimented Father Joseph for his use of the camera, and even like at the final blessing and stuff, he would always look to the right camera, which I was totally not aware of. But I think some of us are probably better at it than others.
Yeah. I know whenever I was going through formation, we have our own in-house formation with Father Leonard, where we kind of go through some just things over just communications and film and all that, and there is quite a bit of hands-on training with that. But also, whenever I was a novice, we did work cameras, and at the network, you learn how to floor direct and stuff like that. And I think with the cameras during the Mass, we don't have like a ticker to let you know what camera is on or anything like that. But I think there is a format to it to where we do at times know what camera to look at and all that. But usually you kind of forget about cameras too pretty quickly, and I think sometimes you do have to be aware of that too at times. But usually I think when you're here, you just go to Mass as you normally would. It's not so much about being on TV. You're there for the Mass.
I think it's kind of being thrown into the fire. Sometimes I've felt in the way of learning. We've been trained, and like you said, we floor direct when we're postulants and novices and going through formation. Some of us had done camera work. Some maybe like to do editing and stuff like that. But speaking in front of a camera, speaking in front of an audience. I remember when I was first ordained a priest in 2013, about 3 weeks later I went to World Youth Day in Rio de Janeiro with Father Mark, and I thought I was just going to be going along as like a third wheel to help carry some baggage and
a grip.
A grip. And Father Mark says to me, "Oh, by the way, you're going to be doing commentary on papal trip." I'm like, "Okay, Father, whatever you say." And we had a good experience actually doing it together. It was Father Mark and Doug Barry, and also Father myself and Father Miguel, and we would get the text that Pope Francis was saying about an hour or two ahead of time, and we would study them and before he would speak, and then we would go out and comment on them. And so for us, a lot of it is kind of a trial by fire, and that's the way Mother Angelica was. Like, Mother Angelica wasn't really in the beginning kind of polished speaker. She learned through the years, and you see kind of a development in her being able to communicate and speak with confidence and be direct. So I think the Holy Spirit definitely is at work in that, kind of within the individual. We all have our different temperaments. I think all of us friars have different ways of communicating the gospel. Not one of us are cookie cutters. So I think our viewing audience probably, there might be some people that really strike a chord with the way Father Leonard preaches, Father Mark preaches, or Father Joseph, or Father Pascal.
I mean, I like to think, certainly, there's technical aspects, and we probably could all improve on that. But I like to think, too, is like, what do we bring to it as priests and brothers and religious that, maybe, certainly a layperson might be better doing the news or an expert doing some analysis. But I try to remind myself, too, to stay in my lane. Okay, what can I bring to it? And it is something to bring to it that, people oftentimes want to hear, like a perspective from a priest or a religious and stuff. So just to be mindful of that, when we're doing things and not, you can't get too grabby with it. You know, you gotta hold it with an open hand. And I think too, something I think about, Mother Angelica used to talk about the dewdrop method. You know, you do it and drop it. You don't, you know, some self-analysis is good, but you could always endlessly beat yourself up for imperfections or whatever. And just, you're trying to just accomplish God's will. What is He asking us to do? And television can feed the ego, but it can also humble you, you know. So there's
Get beaten down, and we need it.
Yeah.
I think that's the element of Franciscans. That in His wisdom, God chose Franciscans because, you know, Francis wanted us to be very low, to be lesser brothers, to be kept very humble in our work. I think that's why God called up Poor Claire to establish this great mission.
Right. That's what Mother said. Mother repeatedly said on the air, you know, that God had asked other people to do this, and they refused, but she said yes, and suffered for it. You know, just, you know, and starting the network and running it and all that took great generosity, faith, generosity, I think, in the cross, that she had many health problems and issues that were offered up for the success of the apostolate. But we got a kind of a basic question about who cooks and what do you usually cook? We do have a cook that comes in 5 days a week, and she's great. She cooks pretty healthy, and she cooks healthy, and she's a good cook. And so on Fridays we usually eat like a more penitential fare of a soup or something meatless, and Thursday is just like leftover day. And probably our best cook, though, among the brothers is Father Joseph.
Yeah, he's usually cooking something.
From the garden. He has his garden, and he brings fresh vegetables in, and in the morning sometimes he's making smoothies that, you know, all three of us benefit from. You know, I know this morning, you know, I had the last one, and Father Mark said, "Is there any left?" And I had the last one, and so.
Did you have one?
I did. Yeah.
So not all of us benefit from it.
Not all of it. So sometimes
2 of the 3 benefit.
So, and even sometimes I go and I'm like, oh man, I missed it.
I just happened to be there.
Father Joseph's got a small garden out back. He juices things, and he makes it sweet, makes it tasteful to the palate, and I tease him about it a lot, that we need to cook our food, but it's definitely healthy. And he does cook. He's always coming up with something to cook.
We're not always drinking our food.
I think this morning he said there were green beans in this smoothie.
Yeah, there was. It was good.
Does living in a monastery give you more peace and calm spirit than those who have to live in society, especially on how the world is today? I think so. I mean, I think a monastic life with its rhythm of prayer, you know, we have communal prayer, we have individual prayer, we have daily mass, we have regular confession, and I think too is that, you know, we do live shut off from the world to some degree. We're right here on the campus of EWTN, so we're very much in the busyness of the network and things. But certainly we got our space, our chapel, our rhythm of prayer life, and also the fact that just we live with men that are committed to the spiritual life. Sometimes I'll think of that blessing, that I'm living with guys that are committed. They're prayerful. They take the spiritual life seriously. And that's a huge blessing. I mean, I hear that from the laity all the time. You don't know what it's like out here. It's so hard. And we've been, you know, we've had employees leave and then come back to the network a handful of years later because they like the spirit. I just met one the other day who was just applying to come back. And so even within the network employees, there's a deeper spirit of peace in the world. So.
Yeah, I've found just the busyness sometimes of being a priest. I remember even just being ordained a deacon and then ordained a priest now almost 7 years. And, you know, feeling that strain of wanting to pray more, and then getting caught sometimes by employees or somebody outside wanting to talk to a priest. And then, you know, just the comfort, like you said, Father Mark, to have brothers that you know that are praying. That, you know, I might be a little late, I'm coming in to prayer, but, you know, Father Brother John is there. Brother Bernard is always a staple in our community. And just the other day, I one of my jobs here is I kind of take care of the sacristy and the friary. And, I was coming through and I saw Brother Bernard in the friary sacristy, and he was kind of wiping up and, cleaning the sink and the counter. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I found myself thanking God at that moment. I was like, God, thank you for my brother. That's cleaning up, and obviously it's my job, but he's taking this. This is his house too. So I was giving thanks for him, and just the gift of brotherhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely say there's a lot more. I think just maybe a stability, a spiritual stability, just living in just the friary. And I think just with this year of COVID, it has, I think, allowed us as a community also to give just more time to prayer, and just, it's not just so busy as it can be, but it just, for me at least, it seems like there's more time for just prayer and reflection and all that, and I think that is a good thing. So,
Stephanie asked, what do you do to relax? I like to work out, get some exercise. I like to take walks. One of the vlogs, we showed that. I like to be outside. We've had a beautiful spring and summer here. It hasn't been too hot as it normally is during the summer. And Alabama the Beautiful, we have that written on our license plates. So
Green. It's green.
It's green. Yeah, I've had a ton of rain. I mean, we've had like 15 inches above normal. It's really amazing. And so sometimes I canoe, just, I love to get out in nature, walk around and stuff. And so.
Yeah, I mean, I think something that I've always been doing is just kind of plunking on the guitar. I
heard you last night
yeah.
when I was preparing for
And,
that was great.
I like to just kind of sing in the back where nobody can hear me and all that. And, so I think that's something, I find that very relaxing. So.
I like to work out too. Usually in the mornings after morning prayer. I started a routine about 3 years ago. If I don't have the televised mass, usually I do a little workout in the morning, and I find it really kind of sets my tone for the day, and really helps me to feel clear-headed. And I noticed that it really, I noticed kind of afterwards I go down to hear confessions about an hour later, and I feel more kind of energized, and I feel like I can think better. I feel like after I have a nice...
Yeah, you've been real committed to that. It is not. We were just talking earlier. It can be really hard to just go.
It was hard. It was hard, and it was something that I didn't do at all. I didn't work out hardly at all, and then I made a decision to work out. I know a lot of our viewers. Some of you probably called in or emailed in and were worried about me because I lost a lot of weight at one time. But no, it was. I really made an effort to work out and to eat better.
And I also think too, as a community, I think we do try to spend a lot of time with each other as brothers. And I know we kind of initiated just a Thursday night, just recreation for like 30 minutes as a community. And I really found that just really just good for our community. Whether we're throwing darts or playing pool or trying to play chess. I think those
no cheating,
and I think those are all really fun, and I think it does bring us together, and it's good.
Yeah, it does. It's been great.
Yeah. We get a question about the liturgy. I always admire how the liturgy is at EWTN. I like the choir very much. Are they seminarians and laywomen? They're not seminarians. Some are married. Lucas, the main cantor, he's married, has kids. Derek's plays the organ. He's well trained. I think he went to Northwestern. It's like a really highly skilled organist. He's single, and so a lot of the young guys are students they're studying voice at local university. Derek, our organist, knows this. He's also in parishes and playing, and So it's like people he connects with know they're good singers. Some of the women are married. Some are converts too. To Catholicism.
Yeah, it's interesting. Every now and then we hear one of our choir members is coming into the church. Being most of them are baptized. But actually, one guy, Father Justin Ward, was not a baptized Christian. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
He was singing in the choir when I was a brother, and he was a Baptist, and he played the organ. And during that time, when everybody was going up to be baptized, he was never baptized. So he went through all that time, and he was going to church, and he came here to sing and play the organ. And by being part of the Mass here and playing for the Mass and the liturgy, he discerned it to become Catholic, and now he's a priest.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to see
Right.
people that have been affected by EWTN, including our choir. Derek said a lot, some of our choir, they're not used to liturgical prayer or like the liturgy of the hours. So for them to have the liturgy and to participate in the rosary or formal prayer like we do, it really has helped them in their prayer life because their prayer life wasn't really structured.
Right.
And so I think that can be, I think our viewers benefit from that too, because they pray with us, they pray the rosary with us after Mass, which we love doing now, and also the televised vespers that we do on Sundays.
I think also every now and then we'll see a new face or somebody new there. There's been several that have been just very committed and faithful for like the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's like they never miss, and
they love it.
And they love it, and they put in their best effort. So.
Yeah, I'm amazed at how they can keep that consistent.
Yeah.
How many days a week you get the full choir? It's pretty amazing to keep pushing it. And
we're spoiled.
Yeah.
I would say I'm spoiled to celebrate Mass with such beautiful music and reverent liturgy.
And we should say Father Patrick's sister is one of the
Yes.
sisters.
Yeah.
So. Okay, yes. How many are in the community? There's 13 of us. There's 3 permanent brothers and 10 priests. Some of our guys have been more quarantined up at the shrine. We've kind of tried to separate the groups in case one group gets infected with the virus and the other can cover. There's a question about Brother Leo. He's up at the shrine helping out there, serving Mass and talking to pilgrims and things, and just doing the work needs to be done up there. So he's staying busy. Father Dominic, Father Patrick are both working on graduate degrees, and so they've been away a lot. And that's about it. I think we've gone through all the questions.
If you want to please like this video, subscribe to it, comment. We always like to hear your comments on what you have gotten from it. And also to send in more questions. We plan to do more of these in the future for you. So if you have any other questions that you would like us to answer, please feel free to. And may the blessing of Almighty God be upon you. And may He give you His peace, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you for joining us.